The conference room fell silent as Sarah Williams, my direct supervisor, stood over me with a termination letter. I was 8 months pregnant, suffering from severe morning sickness, and had just requested to work from home 2 days a week on doctor's orders. We can't accommodate employees who can't give 100% to the company, Sarah said, her perfectly painted red lips curling into a smirk. Pack your things. Security will escort you out. I clutched my laptop bag closer. It contained the only copy of my late father's emails and video messages. Or so I thought. Please just let me keep my work computer for 1 day to transfer my personal files. Company property stays here, Sarah snapped, signaling to security. Maybe this will teach you not to mix personal life with business. Besides, she leaned in close, whispering, everyone knows you only got this job because your father was a board member before he died. If only she knew the truth about my father, James Chen. Everyone at Reynolds Technologies thought he had been a minor board member who died in a car accident 6 months ago. They didn't know he had actually gone underground to investigate corporate espionage, or that he was the company's majority shareholder. Your father's dead, Sarah continued, enjoying my distress. He can't protect you anymore. Now get out before I call security. I stood up slowly, one hand on my swollen belly. My baby kicked, as if sensing my distress. You'll regret this, Sarah. She laughed. What are you going to do? Sue us? Good luck proving discrimination. I've documented all your performance issues very carefully. As security led me out, I caught a glimpse of my desk. Sarah was already there, grabbing my laptop, probably planning to delete everything before HR could investigate. What she didn't know was that my father's last message had contained a warning. Emma, if you're watching this, something's happened to me. Reynolds Technologies has a rot at its core. People stealing technology, selling secrets. I'm going dark to gather evidence. If anything happens to you, open the blue envelope in my study. And remember, sometimes the best revenge is letting your enemies think they've won. I hadn't understood then. But as I walked out of Reynolds Technologies that day, one hand protectively over my unborn child, I finally opened the blue envelope I'd been carrying in my purse for 6 months. Inside was a single USB drive and a note. The board meeting is in 2 weeks. That's when everyone learns who really owns Reynolds Technologies. Stay strong, little dragon. Dad. Little did Sarah know, but firing you wasn't just unfair. It was about to trigger a chain of events that would expose everything she and her conspirators had tried to hide. Because 2 weeks wasn't just the board meeting date. It was also when my father would finally return. The Reynolds Technologies boardroom buzzed with nervous energy. 2 weeks after my firing, the entire executive team had gathered for what they thought was a routine quarterly meeting. Sarah sat near the head of the table, wearing the same red lipstick she'd worn the day she fired me. Before we begin, she announced, shuffling papers importantly, I've restructured my entire department after removing some dead weight. Her eyes gleamed as she referenced my termination. That's when the double doors swung open. My father, James Chen, walked in wearing an impeccably tailored suit, very much alive and flanked by federal agents. The color drained from Sarah's face so fast her red lipstick looked like a wound. I believe, Dad said calmly, you're sitting in my chair, Ms. Williams. James, Sarah stuttered, dropping her papers. But, you're dead. The car accident. Reports of my death were greatly exaggerated. Dad smiled. But it didn't reach his eyes. Though not as exaggerated as your performance reports on my daughter. The board members started whispering. Dad held up a hand for silence. 6 months ago, I discovered someone was selling our quantum computing technology to our competitors. The same person was falsifying employee records, embezzling funds, and systematically removing anyone who got too close to the truth. He nodded to the federal agents who moved to block the exits. Would you like to explain the offshore accounts, Sarah? Or should we start with the edited security footage from the night of my accident? Sarah jumped up, her chair clattering backward. You can't prove anything. Actually, I said, walking into the room, my pregnancy even more visible now, we can prove everything. I connected my father's USB drive to the presentation screen. Emails, bank statements, and security footage filled the display, all showing Sarah's careful orchestration of corporate theft, fraud, and my wrongful termination. You see, Dad continued, when I discovered the theft, I knew I needed to go underground. but I couldn't leave the company unprotected. So I installed my daughter as my eyes and ears. Every document she handled, every meeting she attended, everything was being monitored. Sarah lunged for her bag, but an agent grabbed it first, removing her company laptop, my old laptop. Interesting thing about computer forensics, I added, rubbing my belly absently. Even deleted files can be recovered, including the ones where you detailed your plan to force me out before I could discover your connection to the technology theft. You don't understand. Sarah's voice turned desperate. They made me do it. Harrison Tech threatened my family. The room fell silent. Dad's expression darkened. Harrison Tech, the same company that tried to buy us out last year. But before Sarah could respond, alarms began blaring throughout the building. Security cameras showed men in black entering the lobby, armed and dangerous. Right on schedule, Sarah's desperate look transformed into a cruel smile. You really think I didn't have a backup plan? As the sound of gunfire erupted from below, I realized this was about much more than corporate theft. The real conspiracy was only beginning to unfold. As gunfire echoed through the building, my father stayed remarkably calm. He pressed a button on his watch and smiled. Backup plan, he said to Sarah. You mean the Harrison Tech mercenaries? I'm afraid they're having a rather difficult time in the lobby right now. The security feed switched to show the lobby, where the armed men were already surrounded by an elite tactical team. You see, Sarah, when you're the real owner of a tech company, you don't just have security guards. You have ex-military contractors. Sarah's composure cracked completely. This is impossible. I planned everything perfectly. Did you? I stepped forward, one hand on my belly. Like how you perfectly planned my father's accident? Or how you perfectly planned to frame me for the technology theft? I connected a second USB drive to the display. New documents appeared. Sarah's private emails with Harrison Tech executives, plans for a hostile takeover, and most damning of all, surveillance footage of her tampering with my father's car 6 months ago. The thing about being 8 months pregnant, I continued, is that everyone underestimates you. While you were busy deleting files from my laptop, you never checked the backup drive I kept in my maternity purse, the one you called ridiculously large last week. The board members watched in shocked silence as years of Sarah's schemes unfolded on screen. The technology theft was just the beginning. She'd been systematically destroying the company from within, weakening it for a Harrison Tech takeover. But why? One board member finally asked. Because, my father answered, Sarah Williams isn't her real name. Show them, Agent Roberts. One of the federal agents stepped forward with a file. Sarah Williams died 15 years ago. This woman is Claire Harrison, daughter of Harrison Tech's CEO. The room erupted in chaos. Sarah, or Claire, made a desperate dash for the door but didn't get far. Her designer heels betrayed her, sending her sprawling into the arms of waiting federal agents. You fools, she screamed as they handcuffed her. Do you know what my father will do to this company? Your father, I said quietly, is already in custody. Turns out, he wasn't very happy when we showed him evidence that you were planning to double-cross him too. Those offshore accounts you set up, they weren't just for stolen technology money. You were embezzling from Harrison Tech as well. As they led her away, my father addressed the stunned board. Reynolds Technologies isn't just my company, it's my legacy. And now, it's my daughter's legacy too. He gestured to me. Meet your new CEO, gentlemen. And before you protest about her qualification or condition, you might want to know that while working in our entry-level position, she filed 12 patents and developed a quantum encryption system that just saved all your jobs. 9 months later, I walked back into Reynolds Technologies, this time with my daughter in my arms. The company had transformed. Our technology was more secure than ever. Employee benefits now included comprehensive parental leave, and productivity was at an all-time high. Sarah/Claire was sentenced to 20 years for corporate espionage, attempted murder, and fraud. Harrison Tech was dissolved, its assets sold to compensate their victims. My father split his time between spoiling his granddaughter and mentoring young tech entrepreneurs, particularly supporting working parents in the industry. As for me, I kept the large purse, but now it carries baby toys instead of USB drives. My office has a nursery attached, showing other working mothers that they don't have to choose between family and career. Sometimes, during late nights at the office, I visit the conference room where Sarah fired me. The view of the city is different now, clearer, brighter. My daughter's crib sits where I once stood in tears, a reminder that our lowest moments don't define us. The company's new motto hangs on every wall. Innovation comes from understanding. Below it, in smaller letters, never underestimate anyone, especially not a pregnant woman with a large purse.